The next song, number 5, is Solitude. Let's start by quickly exploring the scale and chords that are used in the song. So the part of the song that uses the most notes, which is the most helpful for determining the scale, is this part of the chorus. And so essentially by looking at the set of notes that are being used, we can determine that it is on the B major scale. And in terms of chords, we can rely on the first part of the song where we hear something like that. And this is an E major chord. So first you have the E major chord as the base, but you're adding the 7th and 9th of the E major scale on top. After that, we have, again, this is a major chord, this time B major, but with the 7th and 9th added on top of that. And as far as I can tell, the song consists exclusively of these two chords repeated over and over again, just like in the third song. And this makes me even more convinced of the interpretation that the limited chord progression in the third song was designed specifically to reflect the virtual world, because this song, the MV, also takes place exclusively in the virtual world. Now, in the third song, we saw that in addition to limiting the chord progression, it also limited the set of notes that it used within the scale. This song doesn't do that, but it does limit the melody in several different ways. Right off the bat, the melody starts like this. And so you can see it's essentially this sequence that gets repeated 4 times, which once again is that style that makes the song sound catchy because you can immediately recognize the structure. And similarly, when we get to the verse, it goes like this. Where the first part is made up of these alternating notes, and the second part is just dancing around these 3 notes. Now, of course, these don't represent the entire song. She does develop on these ideas much further. The melody does get more complex than this, but it does give you a basic idea that this song is still structured around this idea of artificial limitations. But the really interesting thing about this song that I want to talk about is that it does everything that it can to avoid the root key. So in pretty much all of the previous songs, we've already demonstrated that at the end of the chorus, or at least at the very end of the song, the melody goes back to the root note of the song's key. For example, in Gloria, which was on the E major scale, the chorus ends like this. And so it ends on the E note. And we've also covered the same concept when we talked about Hell and Man Who Laughs. And that's typical because returning to the root key gives the melody a kind of closure. The root note is essentially the home of the key scale, and by returning to that note, it feels comfortable, and you can feel satisfied that the song can end there. If the melody doesn't go back to the root note, then it just doesn't sound finished, and you're left hanging, wanting more. But this song explicitly defies that convention. Remember, this song is in the scale of B major, so B, the home note, is here. Now, if you look at what the song does, you can see that each phrase ends here. It really tries to avoid going back here. Take another part of the song. Again, it stops at the C sharp and it doesn't want to go back to the home note. And you can play out the entire song. You'll see that it never goes back to the root note. Another way to think about this is to consider at which point you can cut the song off and feel like the song could just end there. Now, in all of the previous songs, if you do that at the end of the chorus, where it does go back to the root note, then that would feel perfectly fine. But in this song, at no point can you ever cut the song off. The song always feels like there needs to be more. It always keeps you hanging. So why does the song do that? Well, just listen to what it says. It doesn't want to go home. The music doesn't want to end because the character in the MV doesn't want the music to end. If the music ever ends, then the party is over, the night stops, and she has to go home, right? But she doesn't want to go home because in the virtual world she is happy, but if she has to go home, then she has to face reality and all the sadness and suffering that she has in her life. And I just find it so fantastic that the music is designed to convey that desire, that feeling in such a literal way. I mean, just look at how this song quote unquote ends. There's no ending. The music still keeps going. It starts fading out, and the only reason it comes to a stop is because the girl decides to pull out of the game. So yeah, I know, more commentary BS for Christine Kerr's English class. She trained me to do this. But yeah, I'm pretty sure this is absolutely intentional, because out of all the songs in this album, and in fact, all the songs of GEM that I've ever heard, this is the only song that ends like this. So, is that too much interpretation? You decide.